Tamakloe is finally back in Ghana to serve a 10-year sentence for financial crimes. However, this is the beginning of yet another legal stretch. We'll bring you answers to the many questions that have been on the minds of many Ghanaians since the news broke of her arrival in the country. Also in the bulletin, doctors at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital in Kumasi have called off their 4-day-long solidarity strike while remaining committed to ensuring a full resolution of their core concerns. And later in the bulletin, we'll bring you live action from Parliament as the House considers a report on 15 major road projects that were reviewed by the erstwhile Akufo-Addo administration under its Year of Roads program. My name is Martin Sedina. Be part of the show. Let's hear what you have on the many stories that we're bringing you this evening. Before that, though, let's bring you the news summaries with Grace Hamwa Ajiman. Hello, Grace.
Hi, Martin. Let's begin from that parliamentary report. And the 2024 National Annual Progress Report has revealed that the previous government was forced to suspend about 15 major road projects due to financial constraints. The disclosure emerged during the ongoing review of the reports by Parliament Economy and Development Committee, which is assessing the country's progress across key sectors. The projects include the construction of 14 pedestrian bridges, the Kumasi Roads and Drainage Extension Works, Phase 1 of the Tamakloe Road project, the Power Grant Interchange in Sekendi and Takrady Township Phase 1, and Eastern Corridor Road Lot 1. Away from that, a Ghanaian citizen, Dr. Yao Trefo, has invoked the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, challenging the constitutionality of the allocation and disbursement of District Assembly's Common Fund monies to members of Parliament. According to the writ, the plaintiff is asking the Supreme Court to declare that the DACF is intended exclusively for the administration, benefits and utilization of district assemblies and should not be allocated to or controlled by members of Parliament or any other persons outside the constitutionally designated framework. The suit filed against the Attorney General, the Administrator of the District Assembly Common Funds, the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, and the Minister for Finance seeks a series of declarations and orders aimed at ending what the plaintiff describes as unconstitutional diversion of funds. Finally, a man who assaulted a midwife at the Community 22 Polyclinic in Tema has been convicted and sentenced to a fine of 100 penalty units by the Community 22 District Court. The court further ordered the convict, Desmond Busomche, to pay 5,000 in compensation to the complainant, nurse Priscilla Adu. Additionally, he has been barred from visiting the health facility for the next 12 months, effective Tuesday, June 9, the date of judgment. He was also made to sign a bond of good behavior. The Deputy National PRO of the Ghana Midwives Association, Philemon Japon, said the association had hoped for a stronger ruling to serve as a deterrent. However, it accepts the court's decision. That's it for the summaries, Martin.
Thank you very much, Grace. Now let's settle for the details of our stories now. And many of you by now, especially those that follow TV3, 3FM and our sister stations, you know by now that the former Chief Executive Officer of the Microfinance and Small Loans Center, MASLOC, in the person of Sedina Tamakloe, has been extradited to Ghana from the United States to begin serving a 10-year prison sentence imposed by the Accra High Court. Her extradition follows an order by a U.S. District Court in April this year after she was convicted in absentia by the Accra High Court on charges of stealing and causing financial loss to the state. Sedina Tamakloe left Ghana in 2021 after obtaining permission from the court to seek medical treatment in the United States but failed to return to continue standing trial. She arrived at the Kotoka International Airport on Tuesday, the 9th of June, aboard the United Airlines flight UA 996 from Washington Dulles Airport, where she was received by Ghanaian authorities to begin serving her sentence. Her arrival has generated many discourse in the media, and Henry Mamhesi is a private legal practitioner who has also been sharing a thought on exactly this development and the next line of action going forward.
Walk straight to a standard or a medium prison, but she will be processed and she will be picked up by the security operatives, and she will be put before the court. She will be informed of the reason why she was extradited, even though it is assumed that she knows of it, and that a court in the U.S. committed her to it and for her to be brought down, but it will be brought to her attention. And if she has any reason to raise any legal issues to any legal anomaly in terms of procedure, in terms of anything, her counsel would raise it in court. So basically, the extradition execution will be made known to her. Now, it is for her legal counsel to identify whatever lapses that existed and where there is a failure of that, or they are amenable to whatever trial by absentia and decision of the court waited on her. Then the execution of that decision will be meted out to her, and should be the administrative process would also commence at the registry for onward transportation to the prison. Her conviction and sentencing is intact. There will be nothing of that sort. It is every reason why we have the laws for extradition. So while she was away, the most important thing required is whether or not it was brought to her attention, and the record of proceedings will be scrutinized to point out whether or not it was brought to her attention, was served on her for the extradition process and for the trial in absentia to take place in accordance with the laws of Ghana, and if all those things were executed to proceed here, there would be nothing to visit on her about why she didn't come down to Ghana.
And that is the voice of Henry Mamhesi, who is a private legal practitioner. He's been sharing his thoughts on this current development of the return of, or the extradition of Sedina Tamakloe, who is currently in the jurisdiction. Now, a moment after her arrival, the confirmation came from government spokesperson Felix Kwakye-Fosu, who posted on X and on Facebook, I'm sure. I'm going to read verbatim the specific words and letters that were put out by the government communications spokesperson, and then what the next line of action would be, as according to what he hinted on social media. So he said, in April 2024, the High Court convicted and sentenced Sedina Tamakloe in absentia. In July 2024, the government of Ghana submitted an extradition request to the United States for her surrender to Ghana to serve her sentence. After 2 years of court proceedings, the United States authorities notified the government of her surrender in January this year. She arrived in Accra on Tuesday, the 9th of June 2026. Officials of the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana Prison Service have taken her into custody and are making the necessary preparations for her to begin her sentence. Meanwhile, the Attorney General is scheduled to meet his counterpart at the United States Department of Justice for a bilateral discussion on all pending extradition requests between the two countries. And so those were the words put out by Felix Kwakye-Fosu, more or less confirming what we have just told you about the return of Sedina Tamakloe, the former CEO of Maslow. Many of you have also been sharing your thoughts on this particular development. And if you pay particular attention to the words of Felix Kwakye-Fosu, he says that this particular development paves way for further conversations between Ghana and the U.S. regarding other or all pending extradition requests. And top of mind, I'm sure many are asking that, well, now that Sedina is out of the way, she was actually the very first, in recent memory, the very first Ghanaian that the government has asked the U.S. government to assist in bringing home. The name of the former finance minister is on the lips of many, also on social media. I've seen some of you ask the question that, well, now that Sedina is in, when is the former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta also going to be brought in? Well, the two situations are quite different. Subsequent bulletins will try and give you the difference between why Sedina Tamakloe's situation is different from that of Ken Ofori-Atta, and whether or not the grounds of extradition still are binding on the U.S. government and Ken Ofori-Atta to be brought back to the jurisdiction, and when that will be, would update you subsequently on it. This is 3FM 92.7. Your thoughts on this are also very welcome. If you go to our website, 3news.com, on Facebook and on YouTube, we are streaming this bulletin, so you can share your thoughts there with us. Let's have a conversation regarding this. And away from that, though, we are shifting our attention to, well, we'll stay on it for a while, see and if you can get some further perspectives to the extradition of Sedina Tamakloe to the jurisdiction. Joining us on the phone now is lawyer John Kwayson, who is a private legal practitioner and a constitutional lawyer. Mr. Kwayson, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, my dear brother.
Your initial thoughts, I mean, from the statement that we read from Felix Kwachofosu, it's taking a number of years for Ghana to successfully get, first of all, its citizen in U.S., and then the fact that it has been successful in terms of the extradition process. But generally, what are your thoughts on the development?
Okay, so I think foremost is victory for us as a country, as Felix rightly indicated. And then, according to the statement you just read, it's going to pave way for further discussion between us and then the officials of the U.S. government regarding other pending extradition conversations. Now, all what we wanted was for the government of America to listen to us at a point. You know, Ghana, we as a developing country, mostly do not engage ourselves much in international issues. So somehow, let's call this a victory of a sort, because a long time we as a country even heard of the implication or implementation of any extradition treaty. So I think it's a first step in itself. We look at it theoretically and then the practical aspect. And if for nothing at all, it's going to enrich our legal framework and jurisprudence also moving forward. So, in essence, it's a victory for us as a country.
Is it? So now let's talk, specifics. Now that she's in the grips of the Ghanaian authorities, what really is the next line of action? Is it that she's going straight from the airport to whichever prison that was expected to receive her? Is that how it works?
Okay, so what is going to happen is that the case is already dealt with. It's only left with the sentencing. And then all we needed was for her to be in the country to start with the sentencing. The court is done with their part of the bargain. So all they needed was for her to be here. And luckily for us, she's in the country. So the immigration will pick her. The immigration doesn't have anything to do. They will hand her over to the Ghana Police Service. Then the prison service will also come in. Then along the line, prosecution, the state apparatus in charge of prosecution may also take the next leg of it. But primarily, what remains now is the pending sentence that she needs to go through with. Then, ordinarily, if the state prosecution find a need that there's anything to do, the only available remedy for the state is for the state to go on an appeal. And the only available remedy also to the lady is also to go on an appeal. Outside of this, we can't have any other legal discourse or procedural discourse. Because as it states, the court is done with whatever they are supposed to do in terms of law, in terms of procedure. The only conversation we can have in accordance with law and in accordance with procedure is appeal. Because after sentencing, we don't have anything after that. The available option is to go on an appeal.
Right, and that was actually going to be my next question. That, well, yes, sentencing has been given. The processes have concluded, but she wasn't in the jurisdiction at the time. So now that she's in, so I'm asking that now that she is in, does she have any legal options available? Can she appeal?
Obviously she has. And like I said, much as you may have pictorial options, the only available one at the moment is to go on an appeal.
Where would she be during this appeal? That's the question I was asking.
Yeah, the appeal is to either go and say that your conviction was wrongly done, in absentia. That is one. And then also, if you are convinced with the procedure and with the sentencing, then you may want to go for your acquittal or reduction of the sentence. These are the three options. You want the court to acquit you fully, or you want the sentence reduced. These are the two things. But either way, you still have to go and tell the court that the procedure was wrong, or the law used was wrong, for the court to look into it and then realize at the end of it, if they had exercised restraint and gone through proper procedure or applied the proper law, they wouldn't have convicted you and then also to be sentenced to begin with.
Right.
So these are the content of the appeal.
Right. And
outside of it, you don't have any option again.
Right. And finally, she still has to be in the grips of the police while, if she is minded to appeal the case, she still has to be in the grips of the police, no? Or she can ask for bail?
No, the police has no business at the moment. She's already been sentenced. So it's the prison service that's supposed to take custody of her.
Okay.
It's not like she's on remand. And that's what I'm saying procedurally. The U.S. government brings her to Ghana airport. The immigration service only have some few minutes or some time to go through the process of ascertaining whether that is a real identity that we are looking for. Also look at it if health-wise she's okay. If the immigration is satisfied with that, they hand her over to the Ghana Police Service, who will take delivery of her and then subsequently hand her over immediately to the Ghana Prison Service. Then from there, the state prosecution apparatus will decide whether they want to begin with their appeal process, and the only means they can go on appeal is to appeal to the court to either reduce a sentence or increase a sentence, or for the court to discharge it. All these are remedies in the purview of the prosecution to do that. The prosecution has the power to go on appeal. But if the prosecution sees that it won't be in the interest of the country to either reduce a sentence, to either free her.
Okay. Thank you for your thoughts that you bring to this conversation, sir. Thank you so much. We've been speaking to John Kwesen, a private legal practitioner. Thank you for your time, sir. And let's stay on this subject matter and now engage Alfred Tuyayaboa, former Deputy Attorney General. And for those of you who have been following this particular case closely, you would know that he was part of the team that led the prosecution and initiated the extradition process. Mr. Tuyayaboa, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, my brother.
What were your initial reactions when you heard that efforts you commenced a number of years ago have finally borne fruit, where Sedina Tamakloe is finally in the jurisdiction?
Yes, I was happy when I heard that she had been brought to Ghana, all because the whole process was started during the time that as the Deputy Attorney General and the prosecution also are part of the matter point in time in prosecuting the matter. And so after securing the conviction and the sentence, the expectation was for her to come and serve the sentence. And so when I heard that she had been brought back to Ghana, I said, fine, that's how justice then works.
Which means immediately, or effective immediately, she's going into prison custody.
Yes, because she's been convicted and sentenced by the court. There should be a warrant committing her to prison. And so being a woman is under our law, she's supposed to undergo medical examination to see whether she's pregnant. If she isn't pregnant, she must commence a sentence immediately. She has no option to go home or go to any other place but to the prison.
Wow, that's quite, immediate. But talk to us about the fact that the United States government more or less finally agreed after several years. Why do you think this has been the challenge for your government and the current administration in trying to get into the Republic? What exactly were the concerns they were raising regarding why this delay?
Actually, when Madam Sedina was convicted in April 2024, we immediately initiated processes to get her extradited to Ghana. In view of that, we submitted all the requisite documents that we're supposed to submit. And then somewhere in August 2024, we were notified by our partners in the U.S. that they had been able to identify where she was living, and that she has been placed under the requisite alert notices. And so we knew where she was, and we knew that the U.S. was monitoring. So when we left office in January 2025, because of our expectation that the U.S. government to continue with the process. And it's been taking about 1.5 years, but it's better late than never. We've seen that all the documentation that we sent to the U.S. was properly done. And for that matter, we had no problem with the request that we made, and the lady is now in Ghana. So it's also good for the U.S. that they've also acceded to our request to get one of our own back to Ghana to face justice.
To face justice, right. Maybe two final questions, then you can take leave of us, Honorable. The next would be the fact that, yes, judgment has been given and she has options to appeal. So based on my understanding, it means that she'll be in prison custody, and if her lawyers or she herself is minded, she can ask or start the appeal process. But that will mean that she has to be going to the courts from prison. Is that what is likely to play out?
If she's minded to appeal, the law says she can appeal, but that is not as of right now, because the time for appeal has long elapsed. If lawyers know what to do, if they're able to do what they are supposed to do and they go through it, and she's pursuing the appeal in court, she must pursue the appeal from the prison, because she's now a convict prisoner and must be in prison to pursue her appeal.
Right. And finally, this brings me to one of the paragraphs in the post by the government communications spokesperson, Felix Kwachofosu. He said the Attorney General of the Republic is scheduled to meet his counterpart at the United States Department of Justice for a bilateral discussion on all pending extradition requests between the two countries. And top of mind, the one that many of us are aware of is that of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. Is there a clear differentiation between these two cases, but then they all have a denominator of extradition? What do you make of it?
I think the decision by the learned AG to meet its counterpart in the U.S. is something that is quite not unusual, because you need to always have interaction with your partners outside the shores of Ghana. So he's going to meet the U.S. Attorney General is something that, as an AG, he has the power, he has the competence to engage in. But as to whether the cases before the U.S. government on extradition vis-a-vis what we had now are the same, I beg to differ. Extradition has to do with a specific case, and so it's determined on case-by-case basis. The fact that Madam Tamakloe has been extradited to Ghana doesn't mean that other requests to the U.S. authorities will also meet the same response. It will depend on the issues at stake. And so meeting the U.S. counterpart is not going to automatically mean that all the requests that we send to the U.S. will be granted by the U.S. Unless, of course, U.S. gets to know that every process that we need to go through, we've gone through it. In that case, then they may work on the request outstanding.
Right. Thank you for your time, your thoughts, and your analysis of the current developments. Pleasure talking to you, Mr. Tuah-Yeboah.
Thank you.
And his former Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuah-Yeboah there helping us understand what this means going forward, especially now that Sedina Tamakloe is in the jurisdiction. Already many of you are asking, you can see in the comment section, you're asking whether the next in line will be Ken Ofori-Atta. Well, your guess is as good as mine. We'll all have to keep our fingers crossed to see what will be happening in the coming days. And then also the options available to Sedina Tamakloe. You have heard from the lawyers who say that she still has the right to appeal for whether the sentence is reduced, probably increased, or she be acquitted in total. That is going to be a long legal battle ahead of us. We would update you every step of the way when we do get them. Stay with us. When we return from this break, we'll take you to the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, where news coming in indicates that the strike by the doctors at the Komfo Teaching Hospital has been called off, or at least suspended. Details of that and more in a jiffy. Stay with us.
The Electoral Commission has reiterated its commitment to organizing free and fair elections this December.
How's your week treating you? I'm here to serve you great music tidbits for your at-work listening pleasure. Rastafari, Rastafari, Rastafari. Our Father, who art in Zion, Kanamawe, Kanamawe, Kanamawe. Otonodo!
Come into the mountains. Sight and I grandfather.
It's time to drive you home in style with great music, the 411 and all your favorite songs, what's happening around town, and so much more.
And in the headlines today, the two leading political parties have been addressing the public on allegations of corruption. The Black Stars coach has unveiled his squad for the upcoming games, and there are some interesting names. Pull up! The weekend is here and it's time to turn up. Get your dancing shoes on, Lego. We really do have it all. It's a premium mix of information and entertainment every single day on 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
92.7, this is 3FM. You're listening to Hot Edition, and we're going straight to the Ashanti region, where doctors at the Komfo Teaching Hospital have called off their strike after 4 days of industrial action that disrupted healthcare delivery and left hundreds of patients stranded. The doctors had laid down their tools in protest against the suspension of the hospital's chief executive officer, Dr. Kwesi Beidu. They also raised concerns about long-standing infrastructure deficits, inadequate logistics, and working conditions they say continue to affect the quality of healthcare delivery at one of the country's premier referral hospitals. The strike led to significant disruption in medical services, with many patients seeking treatment at the facility forced to postpone appointments or seek care elsewhere. Our regional correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar has been to the hospital and has come through with this report.
Since at the Komfo Teaching Hospital, over the past 2 days have been marked by long queues and uncertainty, as many patients arriving at the outpatient department were unable to receive medical attention.
Kopimbra umbe bansana mami ahwemi
ye baaye no ye hu nurse mponi ye hu doctors o mo dan nyina ya tutum bie no no ma ofa hu obia me hwa ye kra ye hu odin kakra yi kra na ye mfi ye na o hwe wo emergency ni ade a abanu hu ye mobo na de wo mo ne doctors ni ntem o mo ntimi so wo mfiri ho no mo na fa sundwe mra.
The strike was triggered by the Ministry of Health decisions to suspend the KATH CEO pending investigation into the temporary closure of the hospital's accident and emergency center. Doctors and nurses have described the move as unjustified and have withdrawn their services in solidarity of the suspended CEO. The action has disrupted operations at the teaching hospital, placing additional pressure on patients who travel from across the Ashanti region and beyond for specialized medical care.
Me ba be mo a o problem ti o say didn't go theater and then there was a samba enti be du yeso so no doctors ni honom oh you say e be san akọ enti no san no aba ne say just be private hospital na me de akwala ne ko say be ya ne condition e be hu say ne dey in the city.
When it happens like that, it is the patient who suffer. And we think that it is not the best. So we are only pleading that the government, at the end of the day, will take the interest of the patient at heart, rather than just this optics that they are creating.
Meanwhile, the suspended CEO has appealed to the striking health workers to return to work. But there is no indication yet as to when normal services will resume. For now, vulnerable patients remain the hardest hit as uncertainty continues over the duration of the industrial action.
The ongoing strike by doctors and nurses is clearly taking a heavy toll with far-reaching consequences for healthcare delivery and patient care. As negotiations continue, many patients remain hopeful that a swift resolution will be reached to restore full services at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Kumasi.
And certainly because he's reporting from the Ashanti region and our partner station, TV3 has the same story, just like 3FM. And what we do know also is that a statement has been issued to announce the suspension of the industrial actions, and they've cited what they describe as a fruitful engagement with the timely intervention of His Majesty the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei II. Grace Hamwa Ajiman joins me in studio with the statement. Grace, what is captured? What else do we know about this decision?
So, Martin, yes, the doctors have, like you said, announced a suspension, or they've called off the strike. This happened because of the conversations or engagement they had with Otumfuo Osei II. The doctors say that while they remain committed to ensuring that the issues that occasion the strike are fully resolved, they have carefully considered the potential impacts of the prolonged action on patient care and public health. The safety and well-being of patients and the broader public interest remain central to their responsibilities, and these have informed their decision to suspend the action and continue the dialogue. KATH, that is the Komfanochi Doctors Association, expresses its gratitude to Otumfuo, board management, and all stakeholders for their efforts in ensuring that they come to where they are. They are also grateful to the National Executive Council membership of the GMA for their unwavering support and intervention in this important matter. So they tell us that it is not only the doctors that are calling off their strike, but all the other departments or associations that also joined by showing solidarity and also went on strike are also calling off their strike. So this includes the GRNMA, the Emergency Medical Association of Ghana, the Orthopedic Association of Ghana, Health Service Workers Union, the anesthesists, the Association of Medical Lab Scientists, and the Komfanochi Pharmacists Association for the strong solidarity demonstrated in this action. Martin.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you very much for the update in the statement confirming the suspension, the calling off of the strike at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. And if you listen to the list of service providers at the hospital that had all threatened the strike, it tells you the impact that one decision in Accra could have on a whole region and several other regions that were seeking medical attention at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. Joining us on the phone now is Ibrahim Abubakar, our correspondent in the region, to let us know what the current situation is. Ibrahim, good evening. Thank you for your time. It's been about an hour and a half, probably 2 hours, since news broke about the suspension of the strike. Has the situation at the hospital changed in terms of care provision?
Well, yes, for now, doctors and nurses are attending to patients, but then ordinarily, you know, it will be more effective tomorrow because some of the doctors and nurses are not around, and the strike was suspended just a while ago. So in the morning, for the hundreds of patients who came and they were denied access, some had to leave.
and seek alternatives elsewhere. Others too were insisting that they would have to wait. In fact, there was this 68-year-old man I engaged. You even played a sound, and he said he came all the way from Mansunkran to Kumasi is like 3 hours driving. The road network is terribly bad, and he had no idea of the strike. So he came and he was told that doctors and nurses are not working. And for him, he cannot go all the way back to Mansunkran without seeking any medical attention. So he decided that he would sleep over at least for the next 2 days, and just so he makes sure that the doctors are not coming or they are coming for them to attend to him. So for him, fortunately, because he has been around, he is being attended to, and it's likely he may go back to his village today or even tomorrow morning. And so many people were around. Some had even buy mats and mattresses, and they were lying in front of the OPD because they said they have to be there until the doctors and nurses resume their services. So the statement, I would say, has come as a relief to them because in the afternoon, that was what they were hoping for, even though they were not too much sure that whether the strike will be called off this evening or not. But then I was sensing that it is likely because when we reported on 3FM in the afternoon, in the morning when I got there, I saw the suspended CEO around. He was still engaging with doctors, asking them to resume their services. So I saw him together with them having a meeting, and also later per the statement, we heard that Asantini's intervention also came in. So it's a good...
at least the day is ending well for the many patients who are at the hospital, right?
Exactly. You know, we always say Konfanochi doesn't serve only the residents of Ashanti region. 10 other regions are... In fact, we are even told it serves 12 regions out of the 16 in the country. So you can imagine the pressure that comes there and also the impact of such strikes. So anytime Konfanochi, doctors, nurses suspend operation, the impact is there. And like I said, it has come as a huge relief for the many of patients who patronize their services. But like the doctor said, they still remain committed to ensuring that logistics, infrastructure, everything is improved so that they will also be able to provide the quality of service that people are expecting them to provide.
We'll talk about what led to the doctors deciding to suspend their their services that they provide, or why they decided to go on strike. We'll come to that, but tell us about the Otumfo's intervention. What form was it? Was it that he called all the doctors or the leadership? Was he there at the hospital himself? Are you aware of how Otumfo intervened?
So currently the Asantini is not in town, but the information we picked was that he placed a call and also ensured that delegation came to the hospital to engage with the doctors, and also management also engaged with them. Like I earlier mentioned yesterday, we saw the CEO issuing a statement that they should resume their services. This morning, he was still at the facility trying to engage them to resume their services so that whilst other steps are also being taken to resolve the impact. So for Asantini's intervention, the information we picked was that there was a call that was placed, and also delegation from Menchia also intervened, and that led to the doctors suspending their strike.
Right. And finally and briefly, for those who may not be aware why we are talking about Konfanochi and why the doctors and medical staff there decided to go on strike, help us with a brief background.
So, Martin, on Friday we received, or on Thursday, we received a letter from Konfanochi that the Accident and Emergency Center is overstretched because currently the Accident and Emergency Center is able to take only 30. It was designed for 37 beds, that's what I would say. But as at that Thursday, they had placed another bet and they had over 60 cases, in addition to 37 cases that were waiting for these 60 to be finished so that they also bring them. So as for management, they said it was part of their proactive measures. They decided to issue a statement that in the next 24 hours, emergencies should not be brought to Konfanochi, but rather to other health facilities across, because they will be liaising with them. And I'm sure that statement didn't go well to the Minister of Health, who said they were not involved, and that statement in itself sought to create fear and panic among residents or people who patronize the facility. And that led to the ministry issuing a query to the CEO to come and defend why they issued that statement. And afterwards, on Saturday, or on Friday evening, we heard that the CEO has been suspended. So the doctors and nurses said no, together with them, the decision was taken, even the regional health directorate, the regional minister, and for that matter, they cannot also sit unconcerned for the CEO to be targeted. So in solidarity with that, they decided to also lay down their tools and were pressing on government, or the Ministry of Health rather, to reinstate the suspended CEO. And also, in addition to that, the issue of completion or operationalization of Sewura, which is 250-bed regional hospital for Ashanti, and also 500-bed Afar military hospital also came to light, and they wanted government to give them specific timelines to be able to complete these facility or operationalize them. So that led to the doctors also laying down their tools.
Ibrahim, thank you for that succinct report. Ibrahim Abubakar is our Ashanti regional correspondent. Thanks for your time. And you had an update, so it means that if you are sick, if you are heading to the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital for medical assistance of any kind, at least when you get there, you are definitely going to be attended to, because the strike has been suspended with immediate effect, and we are told that services have resumed already. It means that we are expecting full resumption, hopefully by close of day or from the early hours of tomorrow, when every medical staff, from doctors to nurses to lab technicians, will be available to work. And this follows the intervention of the Otumfuo Osei II, the overlord of the Ashanti Kingdom. And we are still waiting to hear what government's position will be regarding this particular issue. Now that the doctors have resumed or called off their strike, does the suspension of the CEO still hold? Or we should be expecting a statement also cancelling that suspension, and probably further conversations with the health minister on this. We'll update you when we do get any further information regarding that. Let's take a quick trip to Parliament now. And the 2024 annual progress report has revealed that the erstwhile New Patriotic Party administration under former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was forced to review approximately 15 major road projects due to financial constraints. The disclosure emerged during the ongoing consideration of the report by Parliament Economy and Development Committee. MPs for Tano South and Lejokuku, Charles Esiedu and Benjamin Nate Ayiku, outlined the affected road projects and questioned the circumstances that led to their suspension, attributing the issue to budget overruns during the 2024 election year. Let's listen to more on this in this particular report.
15 major projects were halted as a result of bilateral creditor debt restructuring. Chairman, with your permission, I would want to run through these 15 projects. Construction of 14 pedestrian bridges, Kumasi Roads and Drainage Extension Project, construction of the Tema Aflao Road Project Phase 1, Power Grant Interchange and Secondary and Takrade Township Phase 1, Eastern Corridor Road Lot 1, new bridge across the Volta River, Accra Intelligent Traffic Management Project, La Beach Road and Traffic Management, rehabilitation of Dome Ketasi Road Project, 50 number composite bridges and related civil works, Obechebi Lamte Interchange Phase 2, Bogatanga Boko Polimakom Road Project, Kumasi Inner City Roads, PTC Runabout Interchange Project, Takrade, Sunyani Inner City Roads, and design, fabrication, and supply of 89 clear span 2-lane rapid response project. Chairman, respectfully, I would want to ask to know the current status of these projects and what measures are being taken to see its facilitation to resumption and completion of these projects.
The report indicates that the domestically financed capital expenditure fell short of which revised budget target by 3.3 billion Ghana cedis. What factors contributed to? So the question is, what factors contributed to this underperformance, and what measures are being?
So you want the factors that contributed to that? Okay. Then let's deal with this trade and we continue.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Nyako Ampem explained that the suspension of Ghana's debt servicing and the subsequent debt restructuring largely accounted for the stalled projects, but stated that some of the projects have resumed after negotiations with bilateral creditors.
Mr. Chairman, if you recall, following the suspension of our debt servicing and subsequent debt restructuring, all those projects had to halt because we could not draw down. And so that is what happened. We're going through the process of negotiations with our creditors. You recall that Parliament gave the broad approval for us to pursue the negotiation with 25 OCC members, which was subsequently done. And following that, we've signed bilateral agreements with a number of them, I think 12 of them in number. So drawdown for some of these projects have now resumed. But in 2024, because of the debt restructuring, we could not access any of those financing. That is why the report says that they were stalled in 2024. But subsequent to that, since the conclusion of the debt restructuring with some of these bilateral creditors, we have started drawing down on a number of them. We can come back later on to show the House on which ones have resumed work and which ones are still pending.
And that is the Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Nyako Ampem, who further maintained that the budget overrun should not be interpreted as a result of fiscal indiscipline on the part of the government.
As was presented, revenue exceeded the target for 2024. But the challenge was mainly expenditure. We did not have commitment control, and so there were a lot of projects that were awarded, some even on the blind side of the Ministry of Finance, and the ministry was then surprised with requests for payments. And so the many projects that were awarded meant that the resources that were there could not fund them. And that is why we saw a lot of projects hanging everywhere within the four corners of this country. And it is as a result of that that the Minister for Finance, Dr. Ato Forson, came to this House to amend Public Procurement Act to make the request for commitment authorization mandatory, so that before anybody awards contract, you come to the Ministry of Finance to get commitment authorization.
Thomas Nyako Ampem is Deputy Finance Minister. Let's stay on this subject, go back to Parliament, speak to Christian Yali, our correspondent in the House. Christian, thank you for your time. We know that beyond the proceedings, there's been a heated last few minutes, probably the last 30 to 45 minutes in the House have been quite heated, following a statement that was made by the minority leader, Alexander Penyomakin. Bring us up to date on that.
Exactly, Martin. So we know that the issue about free speech and the allowance of dissent has been one of a critical discussion over the past few months, also following arrest of some NPP members and also some citizens based on certain commentaries they make on social media and on certain media platforms. And so today, the Minority Leader, Alexander Fielmakin, read a full statement on the issue and in the long run invited members on the other side, on the majority side, to support the call to ensure that what the minority has always spoken about, onerous bill conditions, as well as the stifling of dissent and the threat against free speech are all addressed so that people who make statements out of good intentions are not taken through certain, legal and criminal, gymnastics that do not augur well for the democracy of the country. In fact, one example cited is one David Esando, who posted on social media that Dumso is back and was arrested as a result of that. That was issue that was cited in that statement and also in the commentaries by other members of parliament. In fact, the majority leader, Mahama Yariga, in making a commentary on the issue, also indicated that for that particular example about the Esando gentleman, he is alleged to have engaged in theft of property, also because he used someone's picture that he shouldn't have used. So that was an issue. I remember the Energy Minister, John Chinapo, in fact, in contributing to that, indicated that he had once been arrested and beaten mercilessly. That particular one yielded in some interjections and reactions from members of parliament for quite a time, because then the minority MPs would even say that if he was indeed arrested and beaten, why is it that his brother, Samuel Jinapo, who is on the minority side, did not know about such an arrest and beatings? And so that conversation has largely yielded in a press conference that just ended by Samuel Jinapo, who indicates that they are not condoning or accepting reckless speeches or irresponsible speeches by any person. But what they are saying is that the heavy-handedness by government and by extent by security agencies is what they are against. And just when he was about to land, we had the Communications Minister, Sam George, back in that press engagement and make that assurance that the government will ensure that free speech under the administration of John Mahama is enhanced and taken to a higher notch, citing Ghana's ranking on Press Freedom Index recently as one example to what this government is doing and has been able to do over the period to ensure that everyone is able to, express their dissent and whatever issue that it is. Martin.
Right. Christian, thank you for that update from the House of Parliament. Christian Yali is our parliamentary correspondent with what's been going on the floor, plus the last few minutes hot banter between the minority and the majority side. This is 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. We have the latest in the world of sports in a jiffy.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Andrew Sefa Bamfo. Now, with 2 days to the start of the 2026 World Cup, Black Starlets head coach, assistant coach Nana Jiman has backed the Black Stars to progress to the knockout stage of the Mundial for the first time since 2010. The Black Stars have been drawn in Group L alongside England, Croatia, and Panama, and will begin their campaign against Panama on June 17.
We're here to.
So we'll do well to bring you the voice of Black Stars assistant head coach Nana Jiman speaking ahead of the particular clash for the Black Stars, who will begin their campaign on June 17 in the World Cup. Now, before we go, the Black Queens have also brought their week-long pre-WAFCON training session to a close as they prepare for the women's competition. My colleague Akosieje was there for their last session and filed this report.
With less than 2 months ahead of the 2026 Women's African Cup of Nations that will take place in Morocco in July, the Black Queens of Ghana have successfully wrapped up their preparations for the June international break. Coach Kemlas Biokagrin and the team went through some intensive training sessions which involved them training at the Legon Sports Stadium and the Accra Sports Stadium. The team, though, did not play the initially scheduled three-nation tournament, which was supposed to take place amongst Ghana, Tanzania, and Malawi. The Black Queens of Ghana had different training sessions to step up their preparations ahead of the tournament. Speaking to 3 Sports, Coach Kemlas Biokagrin says that he's been able to achieve his purpose for this campaign.
Do some set pieces that we maybe couldn't do if we played against the national team. So I see this camp as very positive. In the preparation to the WAFCON, we're going to play another 2-3 games. So we will anyway have those kind of games. 4
players who were successfully screened in the Black Queens B team were added to this particular team.
They have been good. I mean, I will want to give credit to the whole squad. They have been keeping up the energy. We have been rotating a lot. All of the players had some minutes in one game at least, the most of them in 2 games. So overall, they have been good.
And so hopefully in July, when the Black Queens play in the 2026 Women's African Cup of Nations in Morocco, they are able not only to be successful, but also book a place in the 2027 Women's World Cup, which will be staged in Brazil.
So that was a report by my colleague Akosieje on the Black Queens, bringing an end to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Andrew Sifa Bamfo.
And that's it for the bulletin. It was live from our studio here at Disanwe Kanda in Accra. Make a date, same time, 5 p.m. tomorrow for another edition of Hot Edition, where we bring you all the big stories making rounds in Ghana and around the world. My name is Martin Esiedudate. Bye for now.